Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Ben the Human Plays Vagrus the Riven Realms. We're finally back in Devon. We have to go visit our friend at the Copper Pugio, Grath. And we're going to turn in all of the ingredients that our friend Vorax needed in order to cook his super meal. So, we'll give him the bottle of Aqua and Furnace. He's happy. Vorax gained loyalty. Give him the Ulalude. Also happy. And then we have delivered everything Grath asked for, so we can get the super liquid. What was it called? I forget. Grath gives you and Vorax a wide grin and claps his hands. Well, you didn't disappoint, he says, bowing his head slightly. This is everything, so you promised in exchange, everything you promised in exchange for a bottle of Epirinia. And I am a man of my words, so... He holds up a finger and walks to the back, where he whistles a happy little tune until he returns with a wooden case. Upon opening it, you find a slender glass bottle filled with blood-red liquid. Epirinia, whispers Vorax. Wine usually kept in amphora, you know, but these are sold by the bottle due to their great value and reputation. And now it's all yours. Take good care of it, Grath says, and then when you ask him if his employers are all right with him giving the wine away, he nods with a smile. When they see all of the other rarities I procured, they'll put me up for a promotion. Besides, we have more Epirinia in the back. It's just that most of our clients can't afford it, especially because it can only be bought by the bottle. So you see, we only keep it for rare noble or very wealthy guests. Grath then pours a drink for you and Vorax on the house, and you toast to conclude the trade. Then you leave your companion to say his farewells to his young friend for now. Vorax joins you outside. Whew! That's done and over with, he says. He sighs, holding onto the wooden case. A real treasure, boss. Thanks for helping me get my decaying hands on it. You return to the Manzio to stash the treasure. Trash the treasure. Alright, well, we finished the Grapes of Grath, so now we have to go... Oh, I just have to give this to Vorax. Okay. Let's go talk to our man. Can rest here for tonight, that's fine. Where is he at? Here he is. Discuss the ingredients required. Yes. We have some spice. Give him the Aaron's bell. Vorax sniffs the spice and then snickers when he sees your expression. Can't help it, sorry. Thanks for the stuff. It looks and feels like the genuine article. Into the blend it'll go, ho-ho. He looks excited for certain. Give him some wraithgrass. He says the exact same thing. And then the Tarkian mugwort. We have delivered everything he asked for. And with that, we have everything for the spice blend I want to use, boss, Vorax says happily. By the time we get to Paulus, I'll have it mixed and ready. I owe you for your help, big time. Let's hope that Paulus will regale us with his boons, eh? One can only hope. Got some insight? We're halfway there. Got some insight for that? All 4 ingredients were required. Splendid. We got everything I need to face the challenge and prevail with an exquisite meal. All we need to do now is haul ass to Sunrock, where good old Davros Paulus is holed up in the family's villa. Upon announcing my intent, we'll be taken to the kitchens, and the aristocrats will gather for the night's feast. Let's get going as soon as possible, eh, boss? I can't wait to get going with the meal. Vorax can barely contain his excitement, so it would behoove you to take him to Paulus's villa as soon as possible. Well, good news is we are in Devon. Got a little more insight so I can upgrade this guy a little further. Get some jack of all trades going here. Get some corpulent. And I think that's as far as we can take it for now. And we'll get the last bit of toughness here, which will allow us to get corpulent again. And then probably embalmed is the way I want to go. So we'll need alchemy 3. So there you go. So we'll get embalmed, we'll get the last corpulent, and we'll get regurgitate as his upgraded move. I honestly don't see myself using any of these other abilities. So yeah, I just don't see it. Like, cleanse debuff just seems like a waste of time. And then inflammatory insults, it's a pull that improves accuracy but reduces block and evasion. It could stun at the highest tier, so maybe that is kind of worth it. And then the dead weight just doesn't seem useful. Why would I want to throw down an obstacle when I have a full crew so that you'd never be able to place that anywhere? Okay, cool. We will rest, I think. And then we'll get headed out to the west. I guess what I'll do... There's usually a bunch of stuff to take to Sunrock. So let's take as much Sunrock stuff as we can. That's it? Whoops. I know where Torzag's shelter is. Don't trick me. Alright, we'll take this last thing to Avernum as well. Okay, we're good. Oh, by the way, I ditched being fully mounted. I went back to my old ways of having 2 beasts of burden, and I did decide to up my mounts. Having a lot of mounts and a lot of mounted fighters is very nice. So I did decide to go do that. But I just like the comfort and stability of having beasts of burden. It's familiar to me. So if you're like, he ditched the fully mounted, I did indeed. So, the one thing I was kind of curious about, so like people talk about going fully mounted, and then you have like 100 and something horses. The thing I don't quite understand is like you still have crowded camps debuff, right? And that's pretty debilitating, as far as I know. And maybe I just don't quite understand it fully. But do you just kind of like power through the crowded camps debuff? Because that's kind of rough. All right, we have reached Sunrock. Let's turn in our missions before I forget to. I constantly do that when I'm doing something else. And now we will visit the Paulus Villa. Vorax is itching to prove himself. The village of the Pauli is a magnificent sight to behold. Its elegant marble form occupies its very own cavern, lit by iron and crystal chandeliers so that it constantly bathed in pure white light. A stream meanders right outside the tall ornate stone wall that cuts the villa's ground off from the public area, so the only way to access it from this side is through the reinforced gatehouse. Vorax is eager to walk up to the guards and announce his intention to meet their master's challenge, but if you do this now, you will not be able to return to your comitatus, at least for a day. We will go. Vorax hauls his cooking gear and ingredients up to the villa's gate and announces his intentions to meet the Paulus' challenge. The guards look at each other briefly before nodding and opening the gate. They are all too familiar with challengers as well as with their master's eagerness to let them in. With a somewhat bored expression, they tell you that you are in luck. A feast was planned for tonight, and so you can present the meal this evening in front of the most illustrious guests. You are escorted to the kitchens right away, but you can only take a small escort with you. Okay, only 4 people this time. 2 sorcerers plus a Gorgoro. Confirm. A guard takes you across the gardens, resplendent with giant mushrooms and gnarly trees, to the west wing of the villa where you enter through a sturdy door to reach the kitchens. Once there, the staff and slaves leave the chamber assigned to challengers, and your company is told to stay here. Vorax begins preparations, moving and working frantically. He even asks you to help him out with small tasks, although you get the impression that it is more out of courtesy than anything else. The undead cook then enters a sort of haze or flow that is difficult to describe. The hours go by as you watch him. The meal is coming together nicely. Once he sears the stomach a bit, he pours water on it, and begins to add the wine, some of the spice and the mushrooms. While the whole thing is being steamed, he begins to prepare the garnish. While Vorax is busy cooking, the steward of Paulus, a thin, tall, middle-aged man called Odalis, visits the kitchen to welcome you. The Dominus sends his apologies for not being able to see you right now. The man wrings his hands. But I hope you understand that the event for tonight has been set for months now, and he is busy with preparations. However, he recognizes you as an esteemed guest and wishes to welcome you to via my leal and humble person. You see, it is I who usually deals with challengers, and tonight won't be any different. Should you need anything for the meal, you need only ask, and when the time comes, I'll escort you and yours up to the atrium, where the rest of the guests are gathering while your—" he looks Vorax up and down, "friend here finishes his work." You fall into conversation. You keep talking for almost an hour as you are eager to learn as much as you can about your host, but then you notice how Odalis sometimes looks sideways with a curious expression, and you ask him politely what the matter is. "Ah, apologies," he says. "I am paying attention. It's just that I saw a kitchen slave just now whom I did not recognize, which is unthinkable for someone in my position, but I thought that I merely overlooked a purchase, and so I didn't say anything. Also, I didn't want to be impolite and leave you here for some issue with a slave. In my hindsight, perhaps I should have, for I have a bad feeling about it." Just then, after half listening to this conversation, Vorax yelps, and the two of you rise from the stone bench you've been sitting on. "The spice infusion!" the undead chef manages, gasping for air even though he stopped breathing long ago. It's gone! He explains to you in a panic that he placed the infusion on one of the tables, but now cannot find it. A brief but thorough search of the chamber turns up nothing. The only conclusion you can draw is that the strange slave has taken it. You ask Vorax if he can complete the meal without the infusion, and he admits that he could, but it would not be the same. "I am organizing a search right away," Odalis assures you and whistles the guards. "If he hasn't made his escape, we'll find him. Leave this to me." No, we will help." You and your companions accompany Odalis while a handful of guards remain behind in the kitchens, just in case this thief should return. You have to admit that searching the premises you are unfamiliar with is quite a challenge, so most of the time you make suggestions to the steward and watch him work. You keep trying to figure out where you would go in the thief's place. We succeed. You soon learn that a slave was sent out of town to fetch something, and Odalis is about to go after him. But then you question the witnesses too. It turns out that the description of the servant who sent the slave to the market matches the one the steward saw in the kitchens. It appears that the former was used as a diversion by the latter. Thus you focus the search on the storage rooms below the villa where they saw the two of them talk. Lo and behold, the thief was hiding in a grain room all along, expecting that the search will be misdirected by his trick, and so he would be able to leave unnoticed. When you find the fellow, he considers swallowing the spice, but Vorax appears next to you, so intensely angry that the man just drops the bag, sinking to his knees to beg for his life. The undead chef grabs the spice, glaring at the thief, which is quite uncharacteristic of your companion, and then he stomps away to complete his work. Odalis questions the fellow, who admits that he was hired by a local chef to sabotage potential challengers. His employer was looking to win Paulus's favor in the future, and saw everyone else as competition to be dealt with. He begs for his life, but the steward tells him that only his master can decide his fate. The guards drag the weeping fellow away. With the spice infusion secured, Vorax finishes the meal in time as guests for the evening begin to arrive. Time for you to join them. You change into the nicest clothes and quickly wash up. Once you feel ready, Odalis escorts you up to the villa's east atrium that serves as a guest hall. Soft music permeates the lofty chambers and spacious vestibules that are richly decorated with statues, trophies, murals, and mosaics. Slave dancers, jugglers, illusionists, gladiators, and poets are busy entertaining the illustrious guests, among whom you discover the cream of Sunrock's worldly and ecclesiastical elite. At the center of both, the east atrium and the attention, you find Vagrus Marius Paulus. To your surprise, the host is a tall, athletic man in his early 30s, with deep blue eyes and a crown of golden hair. Clad in golden black toga, he turns to you with a wide smile and a genial twinkle in his gaze. "Welcome, Vagrus, to my humble abode," he greets you cordially. "I must admit that among my many blessings of this evening, your arrival is the greatest miracle. You see, I have always enjoyed the company of your enterprising kind. Oh, the stories, the adventures, the occasional skullduggery. I can't get enough of it. Please, dear guest, do tell us about your travels." You may think that it is a passing interest going by what you know about Paulus, but you soon learn that his fascination is genuine and quite intense. He wants to hear it all, and so you have no chance but to entertain him and his esteemed guests with the tales of your journeys in Terra Supra. Young Paulus turns out to be quite the audience, often commenting on the story. His enthusiasm is so contagious that soon you have a large attentive audience. "Oh, I am truly spoiled," he tells you with a kind smile after you finish another tale, and then he turns to his guests. "But the Vagrus has brought someone who will attempt to gain my favor by meeting the challenge I posed." A round of excited clapping ensues, but Davros Paulus draws you aside. "Apologies for the show, but a host must entertain," he tells you, smiling. "I am sure you also have questions of your own. You have my attention, Vagrus." Discuss the situation with the winds? What happened? Oh, tell him about the saboteur. "I have not decided his fate yet," he tells you, and then sips wine from his golden goblet before pointing a long finger at you. "What do you think should be done?" I would say he deserves to be punished, but nothing drastic. Because he's like, he did a bad thing and he should be punished, but you shouldn't kill him. He considers your position. "Interesting," he finally says, smiling. "A lot is said about a person about how they deal out justice. Personally, I was considering exposing and punishing the chef who was implicated by the thief, rather than the thief himself, if only for meddling in my household affairs, which I vehemently dislike." That's fair. I like that. He stares into his goblet silently, which is the cue to change the subject. Talk about his family? Talk about the challenge? All right, the feast is about to begin, and it is time to take your place. We got renown! Hell yeah! After Odalis informs him, Davros Paulus raises his voice and announces that the feast is about to begin. The guests move into the halls to take their respective places at the low tables and feeding couches. Slaves and servants have already prepared a magnificent venue. Magical lights hover over the marble tables set with silverware. Paulus reclines on a gilded couch at the head of the main table, while you, having brought Vorax for the challenge, enjoying the host's attention, are granted a place of prominence nearby. As the starters and drinks are being served, Paulus rises and raises his golden goblet high. "Friends and kin," he begins as the hall falls silent, "allow me to welcome you to this feast in honor of my grandfather, the magnificent Davros Septimus Paulus, my namesake. He was a great man and grand influence on my life, and as you know, each year we honor him like this. I am confident in saying that he looks upon this tradition with great glee from beyond the veil. Today is also an auspicious day because another challenger has emerged to impress me with a meal, for the third time this year. He is a fellow I have not heard of yet, and so I am looking forward to his endeavor with great excitement. As for you, dear guests, have a wonderful evening." The guests holler and clap for a good minute before Paulus, having had himself celebrated long enough, gives a sign to begin feasting. Music returns to the hall, accompanied by the frantic clatter of utensils. Your host watches all of this with a mischievous smile until Odalis arrives with a silver platter, upon which the meal that Vorax had prepared proudly rests. Going by Paulus's expression, he is quite unimpressed, and you can see why. The meal looks quite simple and is only accompanied by a single glass of blood-red epirenia. With a slightly disappointed expression, Davros Marius Paulus grabs a fork and digs in. As he is chewing the first mouthful, he reaches toward the glass, but he abruptly freezes in mid-motion. Did Vorax just poison this man? No, never mind. Okay. I thought he was poisoned and that's why he froze. Utter astonishment manifests on Paulus's handsome face as he swallows the first bite. But then he takes the goblet, sips some epirenia, and takes another nibble. By then the guests are whispering loudly, never having seen this reaction from their host before. Tears of joy begin running down Paulus's cheeks, and the people in the hall watch in shocked silence as he eats the meal slowly but enthusiastically. After a few minutes, the food is gone, and your host stands up, clearing his throat. His voice breaks, so he composes himself again and starts again. "This is the single most magnificent meal. Nay, the single most impressive experience I've ever had since, well, ever. Dear guests, I stand humbled. My challenge is finally conquered, and now I wish to meet the one who prepared it." Odalis appears soon with Vorax in tow. The hulking undead wrings his large hands and bows his head to the host, who welcomes him with unusual geniality. You cannot fail to notice that most of the guests look upon your companions with a mixture of curiosity and disgust. Yet Paulus and the undead chef talk extensively while you finish your food, and both of them walk up to you. "Thank you, Vagrus, for bringing Vorax to me." The aristocrat pats your shoulder. His eyes are still red from crying. I can't begin to describe what effect his cooking had on me. Vorax, you are indeed the best chef I have ever had the fortune of meeting. I sincerely hope that one day someone does for you what you just did for me. I'm true to my word. You have my favor. Thank you, my grace. Your grace, Vorax stammers. If I could, I would, but as for my favor, my wish is that it goes to the Vagrus. I have everything I could hope for, and the help that I got was indispensable. As you wish, Paulus nods and then turns to you. Vagrus, would it be riches that you desire? Or would you want me to intervene on your behalf with one of the imperial trading houses? The church, perhaps? Or I could spread your good name and good reputation. Oh, weird. So we could get money. I don't need money, clearly. Advocacy with Venari, Aquo, Darius... Ooh, you know what? I really like the idea of getting advocacy with the Church of Sergorod, because we are at max with Oscul, but Sergorod we're still kind of struggling to get over the last hurdle there. Very well. Paulus motions for Adalis, who takes notes immediately. Your wish is my pleasure. You thank the host for his generosity. And now, allow me to talk to my stewards briefly, the host says, walking away. Only Vorax remains by your side. The guests are still afraid to approach you. You ask the undead chef what his secret is, and he leans closer. I knew his grandfather, he whispers. The realization makes you shudder. Yeah, boss, and I happened to learn about a certain hunt that Paulus really enjoyed when he was younger. It was his birthday, you see, and incidentally the last time he saw his granddad, the Jacques stomach with Epirinia and amber shroom, was what they ate. The old man's recipe. Of course I gave it my own spin, you know. But this wasn't about doing something crazy as previous challengers did. No, boss. I was about making him remember. He ratatouille'd him! Have you guys seen Ratatouille? Before you could reply, a thin voice interrupts you. Excuse me? Excuse me? You turn toward the voice to discover a kind old lady standing there. Excuse me, good sir, the lady repeats, her kind, wizened face twisted into a smile. You realize that she is speaking to Vorax. You are Lara, are you not? I'm certain that you are. I never thought I would have meet you in my life. Look, Vorax stammers. Lard? No, I think you're mistaken. Your undead companion seems confused, but strangely uncertain in his denial. Paulus steps to your side, curious what is going on. But you are, I can tell, the old lady nods, smiling. My eyes may be old, but I still remember the tale. Since I was little, I've been intrigued by the tale of the accursed feast. Lady Ananias, Lady Ananias, your host interjects kindly. I am unfamiliar with this tale. Care to enlighten us? 'Twas told by my mother again and again when I was a little girl, the lady reminisces. The accursed wedding feast of the Vernius family. We are distantly related to the stuffed-out line. Terrible story, but so intriguing. It's said that the Verni gathered to celebrate the marriage of its youngest heir. They said the couple was very much in love, but that the union was so blessed by the gods, and was politically fortuitous as well. The proud head of the Verni, Dranus, hired the best people for the feast, including an ambitious chef called Lar, a giant of a man. He was looking to prove himself, to finally elevate himself above all the competition, and in his arrogance he made a mistake. He prepared a fish meal from a rare creature of the sea, wishing to outdo every other chef, but he failed to neutralize the poison from their scales, and so the guests, they died bleeding and gasping, every single one of them. But worse, when they all rose from their accursed bones, and they've been haunting the Vernius villa ever since. Silence falls on the hall until Paulus speaks. And what of Lara, good lady? Nobody knows, she replied, eyeing Vorax with a curious smile. You turn to your companion. Vorax just stares ahead, not looking at anything in particular. Paulus proposes that this Lara could have died, and there is no indication that he and the undead chef are the same person. We are, Vorax says at last. I can feel that it is true. Lady Ananias sidles up to him and strokes his huge arm. I do not blame you, dear, she tells him. Whether or not the tale is true, it was so long ago. I'm just glad that I could beat you before my time is spent. And with that, she waddles off, escorted by her servants. Vorax looks worse than ever, as if somehow something terrible has finally caught up to him. My fault. Mine, he mutters. Paulus clears his throat. This guilt does not become you, my friend, he tells the undead chef. Someone who gives so much to others cannot, nay, must not be consumed by whatever this Lar did. It's not just that, Dominus, your companion sighs. Feels like I finally understand why I'm here, that I know that what answer to my being is, but it's now worse than it was not knowing. Paulus begins to say something before stopping himself at the last moment. I will have to look into this, Vorax says. Go to the villa and see it for myself. The Vernius villa is indeed haunted and abandoned, Paulus informs you. Has been for centuries. It is in Larnak. Vorax looks at you expectantly. You tell him that you will aid him in this endeavor. Vorax disappears for the rest of the evening while you stay at the feast, talking to guests and thinking about what was revealed. Eventually, you grow tired of the celebration, and once the host retires, you bid farewell to everyone and ask Odalis to escort you out of the villa. He complies, and you arrive at the Manzio safe and sound. It is late at night, so you are exhausted, but Vorax seeks you out before you go to bed. I've been thinking, boss, he says, still shaken by what you learned. I gotta see this through. I gotta make this right. I know that you still have some doubts, but I'm more certain than ever before. I was Lar, and I effed up. No matter how long ago this was, I caused this, and people, well, souls rather, still suffer. If you help me set this right, if you help me do this, I'll be forever in your debt. You tell Vorax that you'll do what you can. That's all I ask, he says. Good night, boss. He leaves the chamber and stomps back to his. With that, you finally crash into bed. All right. Well, we succeeded in cooking a meal, and now we must head to Larnak to travel to the Vernius Villa and see if we can't exorcise some ghosts or something. So, anyway, if you guys enjoyed the episode, please click the like button. It helps me out a lot. If you would like to see more Vagrus the Riven Realms, you'd like to see other videos I have going on the channel, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you have your notifications on so you know when the next videos go live. But until next time, everybody, I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody!